Welcome to the Manifest, Manage, and Multiply Money podcast. I'm Audrey Faust, the Manifesting CFO, and I'm your host. And on this podcast, we are going to hear real conversations from women who have built multi-six-figure, seven-figure, and even multi-seven-figure businesses. We're going to explore the identity shifts, the mindset, and the leadership evolutions that they went through in order to grow a business. You know, the things that nobody talks about, because building wealth isn't only about strategy. It's about the mindset and the woman you have to become in order to do this. Now, let's dive in. Welcome. So today I am very excited to be interviewing multi-six-figure, almost seven, Tracy Goodwin. Tracy Goodwin is a voice identity expert and behavioral strategist who helps leaders, celebrities, and seven and eight-figure entrepreneurs decode the subconscious sound patterns, sabotaging their influence. She's the creator of the Psychology of the Voice method and voice mask framework. With over 30 years of experience transforming how people are perceived before they ever say a word. With a rare ability to hear seven distinct layers of sound, Tracy reveals how one misaligned sound, often rooted in an old wound or belief, can cause you to lose up to 40% or more of your audience. No intimidation here, interviewing Tracy. Her clients include Fortune 500 companies, celebrities, entrepreneurs, and thought leaders around the globe. So welcome, Tracy.
Thank you. So happy to be here with you today, Audrey. Thanks for having me.
Of course, I'm so excited to talk to you. So the first thing I would love for you to do is in 60 seconds or less, I'd love for you to share what your business looks like today. And what do you love most about it?
Well, I'm a multi six figure, almost seven figure business owner, like you mentioned. And what I love about it is that I get to serve my purpose every single day, that I'm in 100% in alignment with what I'm supposed to be doing here on earth. And I get to transform lives in big ways every single day.
Oh, that's beautiful. I love that. And that's alignment, which is just perfect. Like if we can be doing what we love every day, like it's not working, right? So, how has your relationship with money changed as your business has grown?
How far back do you want me to go?
As far back as you want, Tracy.
Well, there was a significant, I'll start with literally the answer to the question, which was the morphing in the business. And I feel like I have been the one that watched everybody become millionaires overnight. And I know that that's not
Oh,
true, but for me, there has been a really sharp learning curve. I like to learn things the hard way. And I've made a really strong and good practice of doing that. So I've not been this, and I know that there really are no overnight successes, but I have coached people that literally created a seven-figure business in 2 years. That
wow.
I have not been the rabbit. I have been the turtle. And I think part of that, watching that growth slowly get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger has been partly because I'm so selective about what I do. I am a true entrepreneur that feels into what I feel like people need in the moment. And I don't know, I think in some ways that has cost me. I watch people, they find this one program, they really are able to scale it. I have struggled with scaling because people want my ear. So
Yeah.
I've not been able to go, here's the thing, it's 1997, everybody come in. It's just not worked that way for me. So the scaling into the growth it's been a slow burn for me.
I get that because you have a special gift,
Mm,
and that's hard to transform into other people, right? So, it makes scaling difficult for someone
yeah.
like you. So, thanks for sharing that honestly. That's great. What identity shift do you think mattered more than any specific strategy as you've grown your business?
Well, I really feel like it was identity. It was literally me being able to have the freedom to step into the identity I knew I was versus the identity I was assigned as a child. Now, interestingly, there's a big rubber band ball around this. I'll just dive into it a little bit, and if you wanna
Go for
direct
it.
me, you go ahead.
No,
But
go for it.
so I was raised in a very wealthy family, and we had everything we could ever imagine, but it was like 2 families. It was my older brother and sister. We didn't have a lot of money when they were growing up, but me and my middle sister, my father had become very, very successful. And I really resented that in a lot of
Oh,
ways because it made me not fit in. We were the ones flying off to California and New York to buy our clothes. I was the one that was constantly told and or felt like people liked me for my money. And I didn't want to be liked for my money. I wanted to be, and it wasn't even my money. It was my
right.
dad's money, but we had the
Right.
cool
It was your
house.
family's
Yeah, it
money,
was my
right?
family's
Yeah.
money, and we had the cool house and the cool pool, and we did all the parties, and we got brand new, very expensive cars growing up, and I really struggled with it. And so when I graduated from college, it was almost like I sought out poverty.
Wow.
I don't think I consciously did that, but I had such a rebellion to the way that I was raised, but I also was playing out this identity that I had always been told I cannot I cannot have, I cannot do, because in retrospect, I saw where money controlled me. I was heavily controlled by money, and it was basically beat into me, not literally, but you can't do anything without us. You can't do that. Who are you to do
Wow.
that? So there was a lot in beliefs and nervous system and even in the muscle memory of my voice that said, I can't have. I would never ask for what I wanted. I would ask for the second best thing. I would always settle for the crumb and never ask for the loaf because I did not believe that the loaf was mine, even though I had been raised that way. I had been handed the loaf and I didn't want it. But at the same time, I believed I can't do anything. I'm not capable. I have to be rescued. I have to be taken care of. I have to have their money. And it was all this huge tangled rubber band ball. So the big shift, and this, I don't want this to sound bad, but the big shift happened when my mother passed away. And in that year, I went from poverty to over 6 figures because all of a sudden, no longer was I controlled.
Wow. That's such an interesting story. And how have you, like, untangled that?
Ugh, I've been working on it for 60 years, Audrey. I've spent my whole life trying to untangle it. I think a big part of it is to take it back to identity. I would brush up against, well, hold on a minute, I'm supposed to be a failure. My siblings constantly reminded me, you're a failure. That was Thanksgiving dinner. Hey, let's talk about what a screw up Tracy is. You're a failure. You
Wow.
weren't wanted. I was told that every day of my life. So while I was in that poverty phase, what I was really doing was playing out the identity that had been assigned to me. I had to look at what was the truth because I kept saying in my mind, okay, I'm a failure. I am not wanted. Nobody wants what I have to sell, and I am a failure. And then, but what was interesting was I could internally feel success. I could internally see incredible results. So that started rubbing up against each other. Wait a minute, you're supposed to be a failure, but I don't feel like that. I feel like I've got this incredible superpower and I can really help people. So I had to change my mind on who I believed I was. And I believe that our true identity is the identity that we were born with, that literally comes from our creator, not the people in our world that are threatened by us, that are jealous of us, that want to hold us down. I was a wild child, Audrey. I came out of the womb hearing voices. I know I was terrifying. And so there was this effort to hold me down. So the first thing I had to do was really get on board with, who am I? And in many ways, here's the irony, the truth of who I am is way more aligned with successful and wealthy and and all those things that I was born into that just went completely sideways. So I had to get on board with the true identity of who I am. And then I had to start unraveling beliefs and actions that went with them. Nobody wants what I have, so you sabotage an offer. Nobody's going to buy this. So you roll out one email and they go, yep, nobody wanted it. I suck. I'm not any good at business.
I was
So
right. We like to prove ourselves right.
totally, totally years of that. And the best part of the whole thing is in the fight, in the rebellion, in the desperate need to hold on to the identity I'm not, people kept finding me. I kept building a referral business. Out of the woodwork would come the C-suite of some major corporation in Yellow Pages days to find me. So my purpose and my true identity was screaming for me to get in alignment. But the wrong identity was so incredibly powerful, I couldn't let it go. I made a big leap in letting that go the year my mother passed away. And I was fine with her. It wasn't like I hated my mother. It wasn't anything like that. But by the time she passed away, I could see what was happening, that I had been conditioned to be an identity that I wasn't, to believe things that were not true about what I was capable of when it comes to making money. It was safe and better if she could just rescue me. So I just
Mm.
played that out.
So that's interesting that you say that because I came across a client this week who connected love to money,
Mm,
like receiving money.
totally.
So, I mean, and that was newer to me. And I was like, oh, wow. Like, I see this connection between you receiving money, keeping yourself small
Mhm.
because you look at being taken care of, being loved as receiving money. And like, I don't know if any of that plays into what you're saying, but that was what's coming up for me when you were saying, like, oh, to be taken care of, like you knew your family would take care of you.
That was absolutely a huge part of it, but for me, it was also safety. If
Mhm.
I failed, if I was desperate, if my mother got to rescue me, then she was happy. If she
Right.
wasn't, she was very, very hard on me. So it really became this
Oh.
safety thing that, okay, even if I ask for what I want, she's going to flip out. So let me ask for a little bit less. Let me fail because she thrives in that space. And then I don't have to have the silent treatment. Then I don't have to be yelled at. It was just a safer choice that shockingly I played out for decades. So, some of which I didn't even realize was was what I was doing. you know, I think there was a long period of time that I just thought because kind of like I just thought everybody could hear like I can hear. Well, I just thought everybody was raised like that, their parents controlling them. And then when I started to see what was really happening, it became this mission for me to, I don't want to use the word normal, but to create a sense of normalcy and capability and the truth of what I can do, a reality that I think that a lot of people had that I didn't have, was very dysfunctional.
Well, I'm glad that you came to Jesus moment about that because you are amazing at what you do. I know that. And it would be sad for you not to realize the gift that you do have. Wow, that was such a great story. Thank you for sharing that. And
Yeah.
I love just seeing the other side. So many people, including myself, either grew up or, in like, I mean, we were lower middle class. We had food on the table, things like that. But, we never had paycheck to paycheck family. We never
Mm.
had anything beyond that. But seeing the other side of somebody that, actually grew up in wealth and didn't feel like and created this mindset around being wealthy that was negative, right? That was negative, even though that's how they grew up. So that was very interesting to me. Thank you for sharing that.
Well, and I think too, and I think this is an important piece of it, I gravitated to having nothing because of the identity that had been created for me, but I also thought that that was my ticket to freedom. Money had controlled me. You act
Mm.
right, you get money. I remember even my grandparents, this story cracks me up to this day. We would go see my grandparents and they didn't want to deal with us. They just, they were just having us over. So they would pay us $100 a page for coloring. So we would sit there and coloring books all day.
$100 a page. Can I
Uh-huh.
do that?
Yeah, I know, right? I know. So money was always kind of this buy off, this
Payoff. Yeah.
totally and very much about control. Well, I wanted freedom. So in my mind, I remember here's another piece of this. I grew up with horses and we had stables. And I remember this very specifically as a child. I would go out to those stables in my little girl mink coat in the winter and sit in the tack room imagining I was homeless
What?
because that to me was then I won't be
Freedom.
controlled. That was freedom.
Oh my gosh.
Mhm. So, definitely not the normal story, I wouldn't think.
No. Very interesting though. I love it.
Yeah.
A whole different shift on money. So this is exciting.
Mhm.
How do you personally think about manifestation? What are your personal views on manifesting?
I think it is true. I think it is real. I think some of it goes sideways, and I simplify the whole thing. I simplify it down to, I believe that it's mine, which I think is really about faith.
Right.
I have tested faith on a level that nobody could ever even imagine. I have done things like felt the energy of the thing happening, which I really think is gratitude. But I
Mhm.
think all of it is
Gratitude.
gratitude and believing it's mine. I think we're conditioned, just like my whole upbringing. I think I stayed in a loop of poverty by default from being in that energy of I don't get to have anything. I don't get to have what I want. I can't do anything. And I had to really shift that and see. And it goes back to that identity, the truth of who I am versus the truth of who I was told I am, and having faith and believing it's mine.
Love that. And gratitude is such a huge
Mhm.
factor in manifesting, like, and shifting your energy. Because I always say you can be you can be grateful for going to the sink and having clean water to drink.
Yeah. You
You
know,
know, simple
well,
as that.
Absolutely, and I think this is why in a lot of the 12-step programs, they highly encourage people to go work with the other alcoholics, go work in the soup kitchen, because that is a catapult into gratitude.
Mm,
Look at what I have
yeah.
today. Look at I'm sober this moment. Look at, I mean, and it's really just getting outside of ourselves. I think that's what it is, and the gratitude brings in that frequency that you hear people talk about for sure, but it's I have to believe that it's mine.
Yeah. I love that. That's awesome. So, what do you wish that more women understood about money and success?
Well, I think this ties in a little bit to the work that I do. I wish that women and what I just said, actually, I wish that women knew that it was theirs, knew that it was that they were equal. I want them all to understand that it is simply societal implications that tells them that it is not. I think that there's a lot of conditioning that I wish women could see, like you have two choices. You can be nice or you're the B word.
Yeah.
And so they struggle to step into authority. They struggle to say, hold on a minute, John's making this much. I need to make this much because they live in fear of, I've got to be nice and I can't be the B word. And voice plays into that, but I mean, all day long. So I want them to see their value. And I also want women to know, I wish women could see that you don't have to be the B word to get what you want. You just have to have vocal buy-in and mental buy-in that it's yours.
Yeah. That's so huge because that me growing up in accounting, I was always afraid that somebody was going to
Mm,
think I was the B word, right? Because had the title, back in corporate, I had the title of controller and CFO. And if women made it to that level, then they had to be mean, right?
yeah.
So, I mean, that was the persona in corporate. So it's kind of like I felt like I've fought my entire life to not have that persona around me. And, it showed up, as you know, in my voice when I first started working with you.
Yeah.
So, as me trying to tone down my voice
Mm,
actually made me less confident. And I'll never forget, made me seem less confident. And I never forget when you said that to me, like my mind was blown. So,
yeah.
in the first few minutes we talked. So, that's how honed in Tracy's gift is. I'm just saying.
Well, and I think we have to stop buying into the narrative.
Yeah.
We've talked about beliefs, and I think that beliefs is a part of it. I see this nice or the B word. Well, what about the middle? What about the middle? The middle is vocal authority and ownership of what you know that you're capable of and what you are good at doing. And I think women need to stand in the middle and stop with the drop down energy. This is another thing I want women to know. And I see it in drop down. It's like, oh, okay, I'll wait. Why? I'm not going to say anything. I'm just going to let John say it. Stop.
Right.
What you have to say matters and adds value, and you have just as much authority to say it as anybody else. So I think there's a mental reframe about that every I think that there are societal implications on men and women's voices, but definitely women. Don't be afraid to hold that authority.
Well, what's the famous saying? A lot of a lot of parents told women, like, you're meant to be seen, not heard, right?
Oh yeah.
I, that's a huge thing that keeps a lot of women small.
Hmm.
And part of growing a seven-figure business is being visible.
Oh, yeah. Well,
Being
there's
seen and
yeah,
heard.
yeah. Well, and believing that identity that you are bringing value. There is actual research that shows that by the time boys and girls are 12, boys have been taught, get out there and say what you want to say. Girls have been taught, get out there and say what you want to say, but be nice and don't upset anybody, okay? And there it is. It's done by the time we're 12.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Mhm.
So share with me, is there any like different money practices that you started with and now you've completely changed when we're talking about managing your money and your business?
I think I had to calibrate around the increase in more money. I probably, from my upbringing, always struggled a little bit with money being like an allowance.
Mm,
You just spend it. You just spend it because there's always more.
there's
And
always
so,
more.
yeah, and I do think that that's a good thing. But I really had to work with being comfortable with larger quantities of money because I would want to play out that old identity. I would want to get rid of all of it because it wasn't safe to have money. So as my money grew from income and my business growing, I would spend that faster than I would always get myself back into trouble. So I had to really work around it goes back to safety. I had to
Right.
really learn to feel safe with having money, with
Holding money.
holding
Right.
money. That was one of the biggest. I had no
Yeah.
problem making money. I've never had a problem making money. I can go make more, how much money you want. I'll go make it today. But keeping it and feeling safe, having it, because that was a death sentence. If I had something, even joy, I was not allowed to be, we weren't, me and my sisters were not allowed to be happy. We were not allowed to have good marriages. I mean, it just wasn't, it was an extreme level of control. And so I got to get rid of this money. I got to go spend this money. I've got to be a failure. So I had to learn how to hold money. And then I had to learn how to invest money, which was really scary for me, giving somebody else the money. And I think that comes back from childhood as well. I didn't get a wedding. I got a spreadsheet of how much money my parents had spent on me my whole life. So there was always this,
Wow.
you owe us.
Another level of control.
Another level of control. So I had to really work through worth and having money and earning money and holding money and even spending money the way that I wanted to spend it was very hard for me. So
Yeah.
I think I've had to work through every level of revenue increase, paying debts, having debts, savings, investments. It has it has been a challenge for me from my whole my and I work on it and I've mastered it, but none of it has been easy for me. Some people are like, "Oh, I can do this or I can do that," but I really struggle with that. I would say I've rewritten the most in my life around money
Around
because
money.
yeah, around money 100% because it was the only thing they could control me with.
Wow. I mean, your story is amazing, Tracy. I just love it. Like it's just so different. It's so different from the stories that
Oh,
you
really?
hear. So, well, yeah, because a lot of people,
Grew up in
you know,
poverty or middle
grew up
class, like
from
you said.
poverty
Yeah.
or middle class or whatever, and have built a business because they wanted to. You almost like sabotage yourself
Yeah.
from building a seven-figure business.
Totally. Totally.
It took
Oh,
you a
yeah.
lot longer, like you said, probably than it should have because you were battling with all this internal
Mhm.
stuff.
Yeah, not allowed to have. Oh, I'm sure I've sabotaged as much as possible, and it required me to have nervous system stability. It really all went back to safety, which is so crazy to me because I mean, my parents died a long time ago, and yet we're still working through these things that are so deeply embedded in us from our upbringing or our life, you know?
Well, it's I think you know this too, like, our subconscious is wide open
Mhm.
before the age of 7, so we're just like a sponge. We're taking all that in as truth because we
Yeah.
don't know any better, and the older we get, the more those pathways of are now ruts that we
Yeah.
need to, like, get out of.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so it it's of course, it's gonna first of all, it takes time to even recognize them, right? I don't think I even knew that it was possible to change anything until I was, gosh, in my late 40s, and then you're like, then changing them, right? Then starting to unravel all that stuff.
Yeah.
So you spend the first half of your life not clueless, and the second
Yeah.
half unraveling it.
Well, and I'm so grateful that I got to see because I have 2 siblings. Well, I had 3, my brother passed away. They didn't see that there was a need to shift and learn, and it's hard. Doing the work
Yeah,
can be really flippin' hard,
yeah.
but I will take that over being blind to this is just the way it is. I have a middle sister. She is in extreme poverty because this is just the way it is.
Mhm.
And I pray every day that she'll come around like I did. But
Right,
that's
right.
definitely a place of gratitude that I am able to see it so I can change it and heal it. Otherwise, nothing would have changed for me.
No, there's a lot of people that can't see it,
No.
Definitely to be grateful that we can see it and witness it and notice it. So,
Yeah.
um, but I would love for you to share. Do you have a free gift for us that you want to share with my audience?
Well, the best thing that I can give you is my voice mask, which people might not know what voice masks are, but you can take the voice mask quiz at my website, and then I'm going to give you the voice mask mini course that breaks down the different voice masks and gives you some strategy around how to start shifting them.
Do you want to share a little bit about what voice masks are?
So voice masks are sound barriers. This is actually what I did my TED Talk on. They're invisible barriers of sound that we use for protection. And everybody's using a protected voice that they have different variations. There's about 15 that I've uncovered, but when I am uncomfortable, I'm going to subconsciously start talking to you different. Like now I've just got my professional mask on because, oh, wait a minute, hold on, I forgot Audrey is very professional. So I have to talk to her listeners this way for the rest. So we'll start altering the sounds of who we are, and this blocks connection and authenticity, and it actually keeps us from getting what we want is what voice masks do, and everybody's got them, and everybody doesn't realize they have them.
Right. I know. Very clear. You have taught me a lot. I'm very thankful. And where's the best people where is the best place people can find you, Tracy,
uh,
online?
yep. So I am Captivate the Room everywhere. I'm captivatetheroom.com, and then on social media I'm Captivate the Room, except on LinkedIn I'm Tracy A. Goodwin. Tracy Goodwin is a romance novel writer. That is not me.
You don't write romances, Tracy?
No, I do not.
Yeah, that's funny. Okay. One last question I would love to ask you is that I ask everybody is if you could speak to a woman standing on the edge of her next level, what would you want her to know?
I'm going to go back to something that I've already said, but I think it's really the thing, which is trust that it's yours and trust that you know. I think trust is the answer to fear, to risk, Not irresponsibility, but I am going to trust myself. I'm going to trust my audience. I'm going to trust it's mine. That to me is the quantum leap.
I love that. Bet on yourself, right?
Yeah, totally.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Tracy. I loved having you on here and so excited that we had got to have this conversation.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. It was great.
Thank you for listening to the Manifest, Manage, and Multiply Money podcast. If this conversation resonated with you, please share it with another woman who's building something meaningful. And if you are enjoying this podcast, I would greatly appreciate it if you left a review. Leaving a review can help more women discover these conversations. And until next time, keep manifesting, managing, and multiplying your money.